What is up, you guys? It's me, SEC. Okay, welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new. If you are new and you'd like to see more of my videos, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. So today we are going to our nation's capital. That means we are headed to Washington, D.C. So recently my dad and I had the opportunity to go for 3 days and explore the city, and I got 1 day of travel on my own, and you'll definitely hear about that very soon. So if you would like to stick around and join me in my adventures, then let's go ahead and hop into the video. Woo! Alrighty, so our adventure begins on day 1. We head out from Huntsville Airport over to Dulles International in Washington, D.C. We got to Dulles Airport, and Daddy said that there was going to be a shuttle available to us. Well, that was not the case, because there's 2 airports in Washington and like the surrounding areas, and one was 30 minutes away from our hotel and one was 5 minutes away, and our hotel did the 5-minute one and not the 30-minute one, and we just so happened to choose the 30-minute one because we were just like, hey, this is a good price for an airline ticket, let's do it. And so we ended up Ubering over there and checking in and just checking out the area, checking out where we're at and everything like that, and then went to my very first Nationals baseball game. If you've been with me for any amount of time on this channel, then you know that I absolutely love baseball. It's my favorite sport, or one of them for sure. And when we went to New York, I got to see the Yankees, and I've seen the Braves more times than I can count. So it was very exciting to be able to check another baseball team off. And they were playing the Dodgers, so I got to see some Braves alum playing. And the crazy thing is, we had some fan-stinking-tastic seats. We were like right in front of the Dodgers dugout, and it was just so cool because, as you can see here, we got some fantastic photos, and like didn't have to zoom in or anything. That's just how close we were. It was so stinking cool. But then we are watching. Game's going good. Nationals, poor thing, were getting beat so badly, but it was fun to watch. We didn't have a say in who won or lost, so we were just chilling, you know. And I was getting hungry, so then we got a loaded tater tot basket, and I wish so desperately that I had taken a photo of these. But I was starving, and I inhaled them, and Daddy looked over at me and was like, did you not want to get a photo? And I was like, well, it's too late now. So just know that if you go to the Nationals games, their tater tot baskets are really good, and they were so crispy and not soggy at all. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. Also, like the Braves have the tool race, they have the president's race, so that was really funny to watch all the different presidents starting to run and beat each other, and I just think it's funny that that's what our founding fathers have become. But we're watching, we're enjoying, and all of a sudden I feel some trickles down on me. I'm like, Daddy? Well, it's raining, and he's like, no, it's fine, it's just a drizzle, it's nothing. And he'd been watching the entire time, like leading up to actually going to the game, to see if it was going to get rained out. And we made it to the 5th inning, and then they went into a delay, and it was an absolute downpour. I took some videos, as you're seeing now, but I don't know if you can truly understand the gravity of downpour that we were experiencing. And of course we didn't have an umbrella or anything like that, so we just made a mad dash out of the stadium and went exploring. We ended up Ubering back to our hotel eventually and accidentally just crashed. We slept for like 4.5 hours after the game, so then we woke up and it was like 8:30, and we hadn't eaten supper or done anything. We just slept, and I was the one to blame, let's be honest here. I was so tired and just did not wake up from our nap at all. And so Daddy got me up, and we went over to a place that was near our hotel, and it was called We the Pizza. And we ended up getting garlic knots and 2 different slices of pizza, and it was so good. It was not like my favorite pizza I've ever had, but it was very good. The garlic knots were very, very nice. And then we headed over from there to Lincoln Memorial and World War II Memorial and National Monument. So all those things like are right there. And I was so excited. That was the one thing that I've always wanted to do. If I go to Washington, D.C., I wanted to see Lincoln Memorial. Like, they can have the White House, they can have Congress, they can have all that. I want to see Lincoln Memorial. Like, nothing else was like really big on my bucket list except I wanted to see Lincoln Memorial. Hello friends, we have officially arrived to the Lincoln Memorial. We had a fantastic experience with our Uber driver. She was very nice, and we jammed out with her.
Music all the way.
I think she was probably freaked out just a little bit by us because we were singing, but that's okay. So we are going to explore here, and then also look at how pretty. It was so interesting to me how quiet it was. They've got signs up saying like, please be respectful and like, don't be too loud or anything, but like not many people actually listen to those, I feel like. So it was so interesting. It just felt very reverent. And he was so much bigger. Oh my goodness, he was so big. You just would look up at him and be like, oh my goodness. It was a lot, for sure. And then when you come out of Lincoln Memorial, before you go down the steps, past the like reflecting pool onto the next things, Daddy and I just turned around, staring out at National Monument, and just sat there. And it was so surreal to be like, wow, we are here. We're seeing things that you see all the time on the internet and on television and just in media in general, but like, this is real. This is not a movie set. This is real. And it was just there was just this overwhelming presence that just was so surreal to be there in that moment. And you could see the light reflecting off of the reflecting pool, and you could see like National Monument just standing tall, and it was really beautiful, beautiful time. And then we made the trek across the reflecting pool over to World War II Memorial, and they had all the different states with like wreaths memorializing them, I think. I'm not really sure as far as how the wreaths tied into everything. And they had this little pool area as well, and you could stick your feet in and just kind of like sit and relax and just appreciate once again. And they had fountains in it and everything, so my feet were dying because I was wearing chacos and was not planning on walking that much. And so I sat my feet in, and they just kind of like stood behind me and was like, you have fun with that, I'm not gonna do that. I was like, okay. But I was very excited that they let us do that. And so then we walked over to see the National Monument, and we just kind of like looked at it from afar versus going all the way up right on it. And then we went home for the day, and that was our very first day in Washington. And then we go to day 2, where we explore all the old towns, including Georgetown and Old Alexandria. So started off the day by eating some good old Chick-fil-A, and then grabbed an Uber over to Georgetown, where I had heard about this deli called Call Your Mother, and it's bright pink and teal accents. It's got like teal and pink all over the building, and it's like got these beautiful flowers, and it's very picturesque. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so pretty. And then when I found out the name that's Call Your Mother, I was like, we have to go, because my mom is obsessed with that saying. She even got me a pillow when I moved into my apartment that says Call Your Mother. And so I was like, I've got to go at least to take a picture and send to her. And so when we got there, my dad was like, what have you gotten us into? Where are we at right now? You can watch. Hi friends, we are in a place called Georgetown at Call Your Mother Deli. And Daddy's, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts, Daddy?
We're up here.
He's not too happy that I drove him to go to a shop that's pink, but it's so cute. So as you can see in that clip, he was not too thrilled to be there, but I called my mom and FaceTimed her to show her the area and stuff, but he was like, we could have eaten here if I had known, and I was like, well, I didn't think about that. And so then we ended up walking down the street and walked to Georgetown University and toured it, and it has some of the most beautiful buildings. Oh my goodness. I was telling Daddy, the whole time I was like, maybe I should just go back to school. Should I just go back to school? Like, this is so pretty. It was seriously just so stinking cool. And there were so many like just very picturesque buildings. They look like castles in all honesty. So we toured those, and of course Daddy wanted to stop by the gym. When you come to a historic university and your dad wants to see the gym. We have done so much walking, but look at how pretty it is. And I just am so amazed that everything is still like kind of old. Like we walked past some classes that they were using chalkboard instead of like smart boards and stuff. So it's very pretty and makes me want to come back to school. But we're in the working world now, so that's okay. But that is Healy Hall, which you just saw, and then we went to the gym, but it was just the practice fields, which that's okay, but Daddy was a little bit disappointed.
Go Hoyas.
So yeah, that is Georgetown University. And so from there, we ended up walking some more. We got to encounter some transformers, and then we ended up from there going down to eat at a place where it was like a farm to table restaurant kind of thing, and it was too fancy for me, let me just say that. So I went with the classic garlic knots, and they were so good. If you can't tell, I love me some Italian. It was not an Italian restaurant, but it was still good. So in between Georgetown and Old Alexandria, we had to take a good old nap because it was a lot more than I was planning on taking on. So I was telling Daddy before we left, I was like, okay, I want to do this. And he's like, look, you don't realize what you're getting into. I'm like, no, I'll get into it. I'm going to be fine. It's going to be great. And so that was a lot more than I was expecting as far as the walking and the toll that it takes on us. But nonetheless, we woke up from our nap well rested and ready to take on Alexandria. And so when we got there, first thing I wanted to see was the old apothecary. And so they have like a built-in museum now. It was an apothecary for like 5 family generations and all this craziness, but then the city bought it from them and made it into a museum. And so like all the stuff that you're seeing now is like original, except for anything that was very clearly toxic. But it was very cool. The lady that talked to us gave us so much information about the history and about the scientific side of things, which me and my dad both enjoyed very much so. And so we went from there over to the Spite House, and this house is very famous. There's a couple Spite houses in Old Alexandria, but this one is like the most popular, and it's so popular because these people would start getting upset that people were using the alleyways in between their house and other house. And so they started building houses in the middle of the alleys. And so it was just itty bitty little thing. And our arms literally are outstretching the entire building. Not mine, but Daddy's basically. And so that was very fun. I love me a good tiny house, and I wish so desperately that it was open to the public. Oh my goodness, I feel like the person that owns that house is just so lucky to have such a fun, historical, and looking house. And so we went there, we shopped, we looked, all the fun stuff, and then traveled on back to the hotel for a very nice night's sleep. Then the third day comes. Good morning, friends. So today is the last day we are here in Washington, and I am on my own for our adventures today because Daddy is on a meeting for work. So I'm going to be exploring all of the realms of Washington and trying to go to a lot of different museums, and the Library of Congress is definitely hot on the list. The difficult part, I will say, has been trying to schedule everything because, oh my goodness, they make life so stinking difficult here right now because everything almost has to be planned down to a T because of ticketing, and they're free to go to a lot of the museums, but they are trying to conserve like the amount of people at a time because of COVID and all of that. So it's been very difficult for me this morning to try and do it all. It's been very stressful, but we're gonna have a good day. So I'm gonna go try and find something to eat and then maybe grab some snacks for the day. And first stop will be the Holocaust Museum. The plan is to go from there to the Library of Congress, and then from there to the Air and Space Museum, and then from there we shall see where the day takes us. So let's go. So I started the day off at the Holocaust Museum, and I had the very first day opening ticket, and there was a huge line, and I was so surprised because I was like, what in this world? What's happening here? But it was because there was like 2 school groups coming to do tours as well. And so I ended up in that group with them. So there was a lot of people all at once, but it didn't take away from the fact that it was such an impactful experience. It goes from the start of the Holocaust all the way to the very end. And so it talks about the history and like how the Jewish people were like affected prior to the Holocaust, all the way during it and after it. And it also detailed and gave me so much more information about people that were affected that were not just Jewish, that the Polish and that the Armenians and like all these different people were affected by Hitler's actions, basically. And so this whole time, it was just a very heavy feeling as you progress through the museum because there's 3 stories. And on the second story, there is this hall that you have to walk through to get to the rest of the museum. And it is just head to toe, floor to ceiling photos. And the thing that was the most impactful to me because as you're walking through this very intense, heartbreaking experience of the museum, as you're walking through what others went through, you're given this hope, this little tunnel of brightness to see that this is not just history, that this is truly people, and that they had lives prior to this and some had lives after this. And so these photos just floor to ceiling of different people affected by the Holocaust. And when you got to the very, very bottom, you got to see they had these tablets that you could scan the walls with and hear about these people's lives. And it was so impactful. And all throughout the museum, you can see how art plays a factor throughout all of history, that it can provide hope, it can provide insight into how these people are feeling, and it can provide just release overall as far as being remembered. There was children's art from that time period that was saved and kept, and it's just so impactful to me. That's what it was. Just I came out of there being so appreciative that we have the opportunity to learn about this, and I appreciate that they didn't sugarcoat anything. They truly were like, okay, these people did something and these people just stood back and watched. And the US just stood back and watched for the most part. We came in at the end, but like I was very impressed that they didn't just sugarcoat the history, but actually like went in depth and showed pictures that were a little intense, but can truly help us resonate with what's going on and what happened. And so at the very end of the museum, before you head out, they had a projector and it was playing accounts from survivors' stories and just kind of helping further attach you to these people's experiences. And so I came out of there very, very grateful, but also very burdened. And so it was a very hard time. That's why I'm giving you a video part now, because it was just one of those things where I couldn't truly express what it meant and how it made me feel in that time. And it's still, even thinking about it now, it's very hard to truly understand and express how you were in it versus actually just if you were there. It's different to explain it versus being there, if that makes any sense. And so then we headed over to the Library of Congress. We have arrived.
God, you call me by my name. The love you give me, I just can't deny. Yeah. No longer blinded, I can see you. I'm on my way to meet you. We gotta talk, you know. All these trials and tribulations got me tired, I need rest. And I heard that I can come to you when weary of my flesh. You awaken me from death, God, I need you. No more walking by the flesh, that's when I leave you. God told me I'm someone, 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 know that I'm someone, no, I'm a child of God. I wanna go the godly way, close to your love again. I give my heart again, Jesus. I wanna go the godly way, close to your love again. I give my heart again, Jesus. I know you know me well. I feel invisible until you tell me.
This part of the library showcases Thomas Jefferson's library, which includes some of his personal collection as well as replicas that they have collected throughout the years that show what he had in his collection, but some of them are his own, and then some of them are just things that they have collected that would have been in his collection. So in order to go into the main reading rooms, you need a card. So I'm about to go register for my very own library card. Y'all, I got it. So I'm officially a library member of Library of Congress, and also I found out that it is so much bigger than I ever thought. At first, I'll be honest with you, I was very underwhelmed because it's supposed to be the world's largest library, and it was not proving to be, but it's actually got 3 separate buildings that are interconnected by tunnels. So you can go to all these different places all at the same time without even walking outside. So to say that I'm excited is an understatement. So let's go exploring.
I cancel plans with you to meet with sin and break your heart. Sometimes I go to you for what you give, not who you are. I wonder if you'll leave for me. God, just tell me what you need from me. Is the Holy Spirit still in me? God, I'm asking you for clarity, even though you told me already. God told me I'm someone.
Alright, so we just finished at the Library of Congress, and my final thoughts are, it is a huge library, absolutely, the facts are a fact, but the thing is, I just did not feel very comfortable in there. The people were not very nice. I was very excited about it, and I love books, as most of y'all know, so every time I go somewhere I'm gonna want to find a bookstore or a library, and so this being the world's largest library was like so exciting for me. But like out of the maybe 12 interactions I had with workers, only about 2, maybe 3 were actually nice. I made a mistake. I will be honest with y'all. I made a very big mistake, and I had to, so you're not allowed to bring your bags in to actually do research or look at books or anything like that.
So I had to put it in the coat closet with everyone else, and they give you a number, and when you get done you bring it back and they will hand you your bag. I thought I had it the entire time, and I did not. So when I went to go get my bag, I didn't have my number. But as you can see, I have a very distinguished bag. And I told the lady, I am so sorry. I know that this is going to be such pain, but is there any way that you could please give me my bag? I lost my ticket. And I explained the situation to her, and she got so mad at me. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I was trying to be understanding, and I was like, I'm sorry. I know that you have so many bags to see, and like, it's hard, but like, it's a tie-dyed neon backpack. It's very distinguished. And she's like, I can't remember every bag that I've ever seen, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, but like, I'm telling her exactly what it is. I'm telling her the brand. I'm telling her anything and every information that I can give her. And she finally gave it to me, but very begrudgingly. And then like, it just, the people that I had to like interact with were just not very nice. But it was a very big library, and it was very beautiful, as you saw, like everywhere, and like everything was just immaculate. And yeah, that was my final review of the Library of Congress. So I'm now about to go have a little snack break in front of the Capitol. So yeah.
As I said, I went over to the actual Congress building, and this wonderful person came up to me as I was taking pictures of the Congress building, and was trying my best to take a selfie, because that's the one struggle of having to travel by yourself, is that you don't have anyone to take photos of you. And so this lovely person came up to me and was like, hey, would you like to take a picture? And look at that, like, he did such a good job. Oh my goodness. I know it seems kind of conceited to brag about a picture, but like, just can we appreciate that for a moment? Okay, thanks. And so from there, I ended up eating lunch on the steps, and then walked over to the Airspace Museum. And this is where things are getting a little bit tricky. So I got to see the actual Wright Brothers plane, which is so stinking cool. If y'all don't know, I love me some planes, and I think it's so stinking fun. And so they had all the history of flight and stuff like that. And then up on the top is where they had all the space type things. But I didn't get to really film or truly take in this museum nearly as much as I wanted to, because after having been a full day, like I came at the start of the day at 100% on my phone. And then it slowly dwindled down as I'm using it to get directions and filming and taking pictures and doing all this stuff. And so by the time I got to the Air and Space Museum, it was down to about 20%, 25%, something like that. And I'm like, it's okay, I'll just not film as much and I'll be fine. I can still get back and order an Uber and everything, it'll be fine. And then after finding myself a press penny, which yay, I was so stinking excited about.
They have a press penny machine. I'm so excited.
After doing that, I had ordered an Uber and was waiting outside. And when I had ordered the Uber, it was my phone was at 10%. And then it went down to 4%. And then as soon as my Uber was supposed to get there, it died. My phone died, y'all. I'm in the middle of Washington, D.C. without a phone, without a way of getting around, without any kind of knowledge as to how I am going to get somewhere else. And so I'm slowly freaking out. And I'm like, I have no clue what I'm gonna do. I don't know. And so I'm like, well, hopefully I can see this Uber and like explain to them what happened. I don't see the Uber. I'm freaking out. I'm like, well, I gotta go find a charger. I gotta do something, or get someone to help me to get my phone, get a phone to call my dad to let him know, and maybe he can order me an Uber. And so then I'm like, okay, I asked this couple and they were like from England, so they were like, we're not going to be able to do that because it'll charge outside of the country costs. I'm like, okay, that's understandable. Thank you for your trying. And so I'm like speed walking back to Congress. Now keep in mind, it's not a short walking distance. It's at least half a mile, if not longer. It was probably about a mile. And so I'm like speed walking, trying my best in this heat, and I'm like trying to get there. And I asked another couple, and they straight up ignored me. They were like, they looked at me and was just like, no, and peace out. And I was very hurt by that. It was very shocking because I've grown up in the South my whole life. For the most part, I've been surrounded by Southern people. And so I'm used to Southern hospitality. I now have come to the conclusion that I would rather be treated with fake Southern hospitality any day, every day, rather than people's true emotions. I don't care. I said it. I know that's terrible, but it was so hard for me to go up to people and them just not smile, not do anything. They just straight up ignored me or straight up disregarded me. And so I'm starting to freak out. Like I have to let my dad know, because he knows that I was supposed to get in this Uber and it's going to say that it canceled, and he's going to be wondering where I'm at, and I can't communicate that with him. And so I'm like, okay, I got to find a police officer or something. They were all up and down the streets when I came walking down here. Maybe they'll be as I'm walking back. Not a single one. Don't know where they went. Maybe they were having supper. I don't know. But they were not to be found. And so I'm like, well, Congress is definitely going to have some. So I'm walking back up to Congress, and I walk all the way back up to Congress, and there's a security guy at the door, and I'm like, sir, and I explained the situation. I'm like, look, my phone just died. I have no way to contact my dad. Can I please use your phone to let him know where I'm at and that I'm okay and that I need him to order me an Uber? And even the security guard was like very cautious about letting me use his phone. And I'm like, I'm not going to steal it. I'm just trying to contact my dad. And so then he finally was like, yeah, you can call him, but like, I'll hold the phone. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I just need to call him. Finally got a hold of my dad. He orders me an Uber and follows the officer's instructions as to where he needs to like put in the address to pick me up at. And so I'm waiting, and the officer had told me like wait 15 to 20 minutes, and then if they not come back here and we can try again. And also in the midst of this, my lovely watch here had also died. So I didn't have a watch to tell time. I didn't have a phone to tell time. I didn't even have a clock. I had nothing. So I don't know how long 15 to 20 minutes is, and when you don't have anything to like actually keep you occupied other than the fact that you're lost in the middle of Washington, D.C., time goes a lot slower. So I'm waiting, and I'm looking at every car. My dad told me what car it was, so I'm looking at literally every single car, trying my best to see if this is the Uber. Wait and wait, don't see anybody. I'm walking up and down the street, seeing if maybe like they've turned somewhere and I've not seen them. And I'm like in this strip right in front of Congress, so I'm like looking back and forth. Don't see anything. I'm sitting in front of the Supreme Court just chilling out, and I'm just waiting. And finally I'm like, I cannot wait much longer because I have got to get back. Well, finally there comes a taxi, and there's a couple taxis lined up, and I had already tried to hail a cab, and I couldn't. I don't know if they just thought I was a crazy person or if I don't have enough city in me to hail one, but I tried. And it didn't work. And so they were just sitting there waiting for people. And so I was like, hey, you good? You good? And they're like, yeah, we're good. So I got in the car and I said, I need to go to this address. And thankfully, I had already saw the address when I had put it in to Uber, or otherwise I would have been really worse off. So I got in the cab. I'm like, take me here, please. And so they took me there. I got there, and that was fine. But oh my goodness, I was so stinking stressed about it. I was so stinking stressed. Y'all don't understand. It was a lot. It was just a lot. So, other than that, I I came back and I cried so hard, and I was like, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I can't believe that this happened. I felt so terrible because I know that's not a fun situation to be in, and it was just a lot, and I was just gonna stay in bed the rest of the night. But then Daddy was like, no, you're gonna eat something, like you need something to cheer you up. This is not how we're gonna end our trip. And so he took me to this place that we had passed a couple times throughout the past couple days, and it was called Sweet Green, and it was like such a place for me. It was like you can build your own salad and build your own poke bowls and like build your own everything. And so I made a fantastic salad, and it was so stinking good. And that's how we ended our time. It was a lot. That last day was a lot. And so we woke up on the final day, got all of our stuff together, and flew back home. So that was my experience with Washington, D.C. It was a lot, but it was a lot of fun, and stories to tell. I can't say that I didn't have adventures in Washington. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about all the fun and all the craziness that went down. And if you did, then don't forget to hit the like button down below. If you have any kind of suggestions of what you'd like to see in the future, or just comments or concerns, then please feel free to leave that in the comment section down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.